Okay, so this week we talked about the reproductive system. So to start us off, we wanted to talk about the formation of the sex cells or the gametes. In male, it is called spermatogenesis. It occurs in the testes, and that produces sperm, which contains all the sex cells, all the DNA information, and therefore reproduction. Um, and a male has around 500 billion sperm during their life cycle. In females, it's called oogenesis, and it occurs in the ovaries, and it produces oocytes, or what we think of as eggs. And for a female, they typically only have 300 to 400,000 eggs at the time of puberty, so much less than a male. And then we want to do our diagrams here. So my little pen here. Here is our little gentleman here. So of course we have our testes, as we said, is the site of spermatogenesis, produces a sperm. The scrotum is that protective covering. It maintains the temperature of the sperm so it can sag when it's too hot, or it can draw the scrotum and the testes up closer to the body when it's cold to keep them warm. Here we have the epididymis, which is where the sperm go to mature and to gain movement. We have the vas deferens over here, which really just transport the sperm up here. And up here we have the seminal vesicles, which produce fluid that kind of aids in the pH balance. And then here, kind of this light purplish, is our prostate gland, which again adds more fluid to what we think of as the semen. It helps liquefy the semen. Travels down the urethra and is ejaculated through the head of the penis. And so that's our male system. And then we come over and look at our side view of our female. So we'll begin up here, of course. We have our ovary. Women have two, one in each site. That's the site of oogenesis to produce the oocytes. We have our fallopian tubes, again, two in each woman on each side. That's where the egg travels down the fallopian tube, where it will actually be met for fertilization by the sperm. Then it will come and implant in the uterus, where it will, of course, grow and house the embryo. You also have the cervix, which is that opening from the uterus to the vaginal canal. So here we have the actual vagina, which of course helps with the canal where the baby goes through to be born. You have the urethra, of course, coming up here in the bladder. And then you have your labia majora, which protects the reproductive organs. You have the clitoris, which is that little bundle of nerve cells, also swells up during excitement and everything, lots of nerve there. And then your labia minora, which kind of forms that hood-like protective cover for the clitoris. And then, let's see here, get this turned around again. Oh, okay, there we go. And then, of course, we wanted to talk a little bit about menstruation. So that being the woman's cycle, typically about 28 days average for most women, deals in the hormone fluctuations of estrogen, progesterone, LH, FSH. It kind of deals with the ovulation, that egg being released for fertilization, the body preparing for fertilization, and the protecting of the child and growth of the child. And then around day 13, typically when there is no fertilization and implantation, then the endometrium, which lines the walls of the uterus, is shed. And that's the actual bloody discharge that we have during our period. And then menopause is kind of when you reach that peak fertility time, usually around someone's 50s, age 50, and then their progesterone, their estrogen, stuff like that starts slowly decreasing. The menstruation process can become very sporadic, and eventually it'll completely cease. And then finally, we wanted to talk about some birth control methods. So to start off with, we have our, I guess, most final ones would be our sterilization, which could be the vasectomy, the cutting of the vas deferens, or the tubal ligation, cutting or tying of the fallopian tubes. And that just doesn't allow the sperm and eggs to actually be released to meet for fertilization. Of course, assuming everything was done right in the surgery, then those are pretty darn effective, 99% effective, if not 100% effective. We also have our mechanical barriers, such as a condom that slips over the penis, or a woman's condom, which goes inside the vagina. Again, just acts as a actual barrier to prevent the semen from meeting the eggs and fertilizing. And again, if everything's done correctly, then that's about 99% effective. You also have your hormonal birth controls, which alter a woman's cycle so they don't actually go through ovulation. They can come in the form of pill or patches or shots. And those, again, if done correctly, are about 99% effective. And then finally, one of the less effective methods would be withdrawal, which is simply withdrawing before ejaculation. Of course, you have to know when that time is coming. Some people monitor their cycle, so they just simply abstain from sex during the time period that they would be fertile. So again, if everything's done correctly in that, that's about 96% effective. But studies show that most people don't follow that correctly, so it's only about 80% effective. So that just kind of covers some different ways of birth control, so you can choose when you're ready to have a child. And I think that wraps up this week with the reproductive system.